Uh, Another thing that happened this week, which will lead me to ask you guys another controversial question.
Yeah.
We had Andres Iniesta retiring from football, and when he retired, and I saw him, he genuinely looked like some retiring maths professor from a school. वो आधा गंजा है, बचा कुचा बाल सब उसका सफेद हो गया था. Great player and all. But coming to my, and you guys can give your tributes to Iniesta. I have nothing to say. मेरे को उतना कुछ है नहीं उसके बारे में. But you guys can give your tributes after answering my question of who do you think has had a better career, Xavi, Iniesta, or Luka Modric?
Modric. No doubt,
Modric for
Modric.
by far for me.
Modric. See,
But
what
a better
happens when
career
people
doesn't
talk
mean a
about
better player.
If you were to build your team around one center midfielder, who amongst these three would you
Because
build?
if you think about it, Mateo Kovacic has 4 Champions League.
Yeah, I'm not talking about just the titles, not just the titles,
Hmm.
but who would you build your team on, right? Not just doesn't have to be like purely in terms of numbers.
But don't you think that Xavi and Luka Modric are very different players? I think Luka Modric is a lot more comparable with Iniesta because he was, and maybe I don't remember Modric of the past now, but I used to always think that Xavi was a little bit more like Scholes, right? He was more of a playmaker he used to play a little bit more deep, and Iniesta was always the more attacking of the three midfielders. I don't know. I don't remember if because Modric played with Casemiro and Cruz actually,
Close,
and
yeah.
so Cruz was not
I'm
attacking.
basically comparing
Neither was
those
Casemiro.
three. Yeah, I'm basically comparing those three: Busquets and Casemiro. You had Cruz and Xavi, and you
Xavi.
had Rich and Iniesta. But if you were to pick, three, if you were to sort of separate them into tier one and tier two, these three probably make tier one. And I mean, it's unfair on Cruz, but yeah, Cruz, Casemiro, and Busquets would possibly push them. So I'm just trying to create sort of like a 3v3 kind of like something that's
But would you take that trio? Because I feel like as a trio, Xavi, Busquets, and Iniesta were better than Casemiro, Modric, and Cruz. But you know, individually, I think Modric he was a phenomenal player everywhere, right? Wherever he played, he was amazing. Even in Croatia, he was amazing. So as an
Are
individual footballer,
amazing.
he was probably better. But as a trio, would you take those three over Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets?
and let me twist this question and sort of position it differently. If I take the Real Madrid three and get them to play with Messi, Suarez, and Neymar, yes, they'll still work. If I take the Barcelona three and get them to play with Benzema, Bale, and Ronaldo, I don't think it will work because I think Xavi and Iniesta, and the reason why I also put Modric ahead of both of them is I think they're very set in their ways. I have seen Luka Modric go from a left winger at the start of his career at Tottenham to then
Number
start
10.
playing center midfield and number 10 behind the likes of Pavlyuchenko and all these guys to come to Real Madrid where he was just completely run down. If you guys remember when he joined Real Madrid, at that point and they were just like, why have we signed this weakling? What is he going to do? He's not going to stamp his authority on the midfield and all that. And he literally has dragged them to Champions League wins. He's been possibly the heartbeat of that team. I would even go as far as to say that as big as Ronaldo has been, as big as Ramos has been as the two pillars of Madrid, for me, as if I were to talk about the greatest players of this era for Real Madrid, I would put Modric right up there with those guys. Right up there, even if not maybe 1 centimeter on top. So, going back to that thing, if I were to take this Real Madrid three, maybe they could work with a Messi and these guys. So adaptability, I don't know. I don't know. I find the Messi, Iniesta, Xavi as a combo that they'll only work in this way. Whereas the Madrid combo could work at Bayern Munich, it could work at United, it could work at Liverpool, it could work anywhere. But that's just my opinion.
See, I personally like players who can dictate the tempo of the game. And I think Xavi could do that and Modric could do that. But as you rightly pointed out, Xavi played under that philosophy. He played for one club all his not one club, but he played for Barca for over a decade. And before moving to, I think he played for in some club in Qatar, right? So before moving to Qatar. So maybe Modric, if you want to say in a team like say Aston Villa or Tottenham, even now, you would prefer having Modric over Xavi because you will have to base your entire play around Xavi, around how Xavi plays, while Modric will adjust his game. So it makes sense. I would say, see, Xavi's name is huge. The guy has a World Cup, 2 Euros, a treble, 2 Champions League, and 3 Champions Leagues. So even Xavi's name is huge. He's probably the great. He's regarded as the greatest Spanish footballers of all time. So Xavi is huge in that sense. And mainly when you talk about, see, there are a lot of people who rate players or managers who have had an effect on the way the game is played. So in that case, Xavi is rated very highly, and I can understand why. But again, yeah, as you rightly pointed out, there Modric evolved from an attacking player who used to play on the left side or as number 10, and now he learned how to basically control games. So I think that is huge. Not many people can do that. And see, this is why I rate Roy Keane ahead of almost every midfielder in the Premier League. Because Roy Keane, when we talk about Roy Keane, if you see Roy Keane's early Nottingham Forest videos, he used to, not exactly number 10, but he used to play in that advanced position. So even when he joined United in 93-94, he used to play as, again, in advanced position. And Brian Robson and Paul Ince, they used to play in that midfield too. And later, Roy Keane tells in his autobiography that Brian Robson had a word with him that you need to take more responsibility. You should ask for ball more. And this is where Roy Keane's game changed. So I thought Roy Keane's control of the game was better than anyone else in English football. So I mean, there's a different way of rating players. So some might rate Gerrard ahead of rest of the players because Gerrard was one-man army, a typical blood and thunder player. He could attack, he could defend. But maybe so even I am tempted to rate.
It's so funny.
Yeah,
Scholes himself said that Gerrard could get into the United team and do what Scholes does, but Scholes couldn't get into the Liverpool team and do what try to do what Gerrard did for Liverpool. So the difference between
Rooney also said the same thing.
Yeah.
Both Scholes and Rooney said the same thing.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? The difference between being like Gerrard, for me, in my opinion, like we do the whole Gerrard, Scholes, and Lampard thing, right? Gerrard can play for any team.
Yeah.
I mean, Scholes can play for any team too. So can Lampard. But if you talk about effectiveness, I'm not talking about who's better, but in terms of effectiveness, you can play Gerrard down the left, as I think Benitez did. You can play him at 10 as Benitez did. You can play him as a pivot. I think towards the end of his career, when his legs had gone, he used to drop back a fair bit. Or you could play him as that, as you said, the blood and thunder guy, just box to box all the time. So that adaptability also works in your advantage.
But even if you look at Paul Scholes' career at United, so he was one of a kind in English football. Just imagine him getting the same coaching that Xavi, Iniesta, or Messi did at La Masia. So Scholes started as Ferguson did not know what Scholes' best position was. So initially in his youth days, he used to play as number 10 or something like that. Then Ferguson transformed him into center midfielder. Then if you recall, in 2002-03 season, Scholes played behind Van Nistelrooy and scored 16 goals. Later,
Initially,
he realized that...
midfielder, right?
Yeah. And later, he started dropping deep when he realized that his legs were gone. He started dropping deep and started taking tempo of the game. So, if to be fair to Scholes was not an athlete. He had a lot of he was not an athlete. You can look at Gerrard, look at Lampard, and you can say that they are footballers. Scholes को देख के तुम कोई नहीं बोलेगा कि भाई ये athlete है, कोई game खेलता है. He had a lot of health issues and whatnot. So
Vijay Singh fridge बेचता है ऐसा लगता है.
But again, there is a very unique distinction. So if you listen to Zidane, Henry,
Yeah. They all
Xavi,
say Scholes is, yeah.
even Messi. So I remember. Do you recall the footballer Socrates, Brazilian footballer
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Socrates? So I remember reading Andy Mitten's article when he went to visit him in Brazil. So Socrates were raving about that red-haired boy in Manchester.
Hmm.
So I think there is a difference between how we rate any player and how footballers play. But again, you will have people like Michael Cox who will tell you that Scholes was rubbish. Which I
Who's
mean,
Michael Cox?
He's
zonal
the
marking. You don't
Oh,
know who Michael Cox is? Yeah.
no,
he's
no,
a
I
guy
know, I
who
know. Now I know.
he's the guy who jacks off to the XG statistics every day.
Oh, acha, okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, it's weird,
Interesting
right? I mean,
argument.
sorry, go on.
It is an interesting argument, but it's one that I usually try not to have with anyone anymore because,
Yeah.
I mean,
There's no
what?
right answer.
Huh?
There's no right answer to this, anyways. It's just
There's no
Yeah.
right answer, and I can one thing I can say for sure is for Liverpool, Gerrard was right
Yeah.
correct.
at that time. What we needed, and now when you think about it, now when I sometimes think about what Gerrard was for Liverpool, right? If you think about what has happened to United at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Especially after Ferguson left, which is precisely the same period that Liverpool went through, right? In
Hmm. Yeah.
during all of Gerrard's career, is that we were mid-table, we were not doing well, but still we won the Champions League in that time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Still. I feel like there was a time when in that time Liverpool could have gone down and become far worse than we actually turned out to be because of players like Gerrard and Carragher and all of these guys who actually used to keep at least they used to attempt, they used to try, they used to play their heart out every single time. And it's now that I think back on it, when I see teams like United struggle at the moment, I realize that I'm glad that at that point we had players like them, because at least they kept us still in that top four or top six, somewhere relevant, somewhere challenging for the cups. If not the title, okay, we came close to the title only a couple of times, but at least we used to win the cups or do something. So in a way, yeah. I mean, I appreciate those players now a lot more than I did back then.
Gerrard was to Liverpool what Brian Robson was to United.
Yeah.
I think all of them were perfect in their own teams.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure. Maybe I feel like, yeah, what Gerrard did at Liverpool, nobody in Liverpool could have done. No way, no chance about
Yeah.
it. And, again, but, Lampard was perfect for Chelsea at that time.
Yeah.
You never know how Gerrard would have fit in if he had gone to Chelsea. You never know. And, the same with Scholes as well. I think
Yeah.
Scholes was exactly the player United needed at that time, especially with those enigmas that they had up front, like Ronaldo, Rooney, Tevez, and with another, I think he was perfect in that United team. Exactly what they needed at that time, alongside Roy Keane. I think they were both perfect for United.
No, agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.